We're off to Liverpool tonight. Good evening, thank you for watching. I hope everyone's well today. There is a big story in Liverpool that I don't think is getting the coverage it deserves, and that's what we want to talk about tonight, so thank you for watching. About 10 years ago, there was a movie that came out called Spotlight. Now, this movie, starring Rachel McAdams and Michael Keaton, was a movie about the abuse in the Catholic Church, not just in America but around the world, and how there was a conspiracy between the Catholic Church and the local authorities to make sure that the victims never got justice and that the priests never went to jail. And essentially, it was about the cottage industry around it, all the lawyers getting paid and whatnot, and the horrors being basically unprosecuted. The same thing is happening on an industrial scale regarding the asylum hotels, the illegal migrants coming into the United Kingdom that are protected by the government above the native population. And it's the same type of thing again, but it's on a much wider scale, and it's basically profiteering. And this is what I want to get into. So first of all, this is what's going on here. Millionaire Liverpool GP behind asylum seeker hotels. And then we get into the story. More than 100 people were threatened with eviction from their homes to make way for asylum seekers after the companies linked to a prominent GP started running migrant hotels. Firms connected to Dr. Faisal Maassarani became landlords of serco hotels in 2022, which asylum applications were almost at a 20-year high. After a hotel in Seal Street in Liverpool, owned by one of the firms, was found to be unsuitable, the people in one of their Liverpool housing complexes were told they had to move out for urgent fire safety issues, unaware that 116 asylum seekers had seemingly been lined up to replace them almost immediately. This isn't an isolated incident, this will be happening all across the country. Maassarani, whose involvement with one of the firms was hidden behind a complex structure of companies and trusts registered in the Isle of Man. That's important. The Isle of Man is a crown dependency. It's not part of the United Kingdom. It is a tax haven. He said he had no part in the day-to-day running of the business, and he did not authorise any communication with the tenants. This is a managerial state at work, first of all. He's learned from the government. Everything's at arm's length. Your assets, your businesses aren't managed by you directly, so you have plausible deniability. That doesn't really wash with me, I'm afraid, and the reason why it doesn't wash with me is the Prime Minister is in charge of the country. He can't wash his hands of it and say it's not his problem. He's the highest political leader in the country. And it's the same with anybody with financial vested interests. You can't plead ignorance and say, well, they were doing it and I didn't really have any involvement. If it's your money, if it's your assets on the line, you better damn well be sure that they're doing what you want them to be doing. Alright? So it is your fault. Plead ignorance. Lie about it. Say it's not your fault. I'm not buying that at all. I thought doctors were meant to do no harm. Anyway, I digress. We continue. Maassarani operates several GP surgeries in Knowsley and Sefton, and in 2009 set up the social isolation charity Care Merseyside. Between 2021 and 2022, a company he had founded, Charlotte Roxbridge Holdings, acquired about 5 million of freeholds on buildings that were originally owned by property developer Elliot Lawless before his companies went into administration. August 2022, when some of Maassarani's business associates bought Waverley Hotel in Whitehaven, Cumbria, serco moved asylum seekers within a week. Why do they do this? They do this because they get more guaranteed income off the government than they do off people just randomly rocking up to book a room for the weekend. In November, one of Maassarani's companies spent $3.5 million buying the King's Gap Hotel in Hoylake, which had been running asylum seeker accommodation since 2020. Then we continue. At the same time, asylum seekers were moved into the Seal Street Hotel as firms' relationships with Serco and the Home Office expanded. And the BBC investigation suggests it was the use of the hotel directly led to dozens of people almost losing their homes in an alleged illegal eviction attempt. A tenant of Parliament Square in Liverpool told the BBC he had come home from work in March 2023 with a letter from Shockloss Roskbridge Holdings. Andrew Lewis said he was left in disbelief at what the letter said. The letter told tenants they needed to move out because the building required urgent fire safety works. Lewis, 47, said the people were afraid, panicking, and didn't want to be evicted. The IT worker added they put it vague enough to make us assume we could come back. It wasn't until someone emailed the management company and said what happens is after this 4-week period, and they said they were going to terminate the leases. And that's when we thought, we're not standing for this. The tenants did not know about the plans to move in the dinghy divers into their homes, or that the plan had been under discussion for up to 3 months. The BBC had also said they did not know that the buy-to-let landlords who owned the flats that they lived in had been directly approached by an agent of SRH promoting the asylum deal with them. The timing suggests it was likely that the asylum seekers were destined to move into Parliament Place. Liverpool City Council said it had visited the building informally in February 2023 to check room sizes for intended occupancy and whether the fire alarm system was suitable. It is understood that not all of the building's private landlords were told about the plan, and when some were, they objected to it. The tenants were then contacted directly by letter by SRH and told they had to move out for fire and safety works to take place. Few things here. Never be fooled when the government says they've got your best interests at heart. Never be fooled because this, straight away, something screams out to me. The fire safety standards, they're up to code for me, they're up to code for you, your family, your children, in any private accommodation all over the country, but they're not up to scratch for the precious lambs coming over from France. And this is what I mean by the cottage industry. This has all come from on high. This is pre-planned and it's not changing. Do you think the Home Secretary has any control over whether this continues or not? She's meant to be responsible for the Home Office. This is clearly out of her remit, above her pay grade, and she's not going to do anything about it. Then you've got the Member of Parliament for the area. She stood up and asked a question in Parliament about it, which I'm going to bring up now. Liverpool Riverside Labour MP Kim Johnson said the incident at Parliament Place raised questions on how asylum accommodation deals were done and rejected Maassarani's suggestion there was no public interest or knowledge in his link to SRH. She added, it's not good enough. I think there needs to be more investigation into the scrutiny on how contracts are awarded and the whole procurement process. More due diligence is definitely required. The Home Office, which the BBC understands has to approve all accommodation looking to be used by Serco, has declined to comment with the relationships. So Kim Johnson, her government's responsible for all of this currently. They're the ones currently in. As I previously stated, there's a lot of money to be made here. You've got Morgan McSweeney, who was or still is an advisor to Keir Starmer. He's got his fingers in the pies with asylum hotels, with the business being, I think it's holdings or it's actually registered in the Republic of Ireland. Again, tax dodging. This is unacceptable. When people say there's a housing shortage, there is a housing shortage. This is the reason or one of the reasons for it. You're adding people that have broken into the country. You've got the legal system that's been set up since 1997 actually protecting these people. As we know from the Bell Hotel down south, the court ruled when the local residents took the government to court over it, the local residents were overruled and they were told that the human rights of the dinghy divers, the potential criminals, the invaders, actually took priority over the health, safety and well-being of local people in the UK. As I say, this is not limited to Liverpool. This is not limited to this particular hotel. Next time you get a leftist or lefties saying we've got to let all the migrants in, like Ken Johnson, this MP in Liverpool, she's one of these people that she's part of the Refugees Welcome Brigade. She is a paid up member of the Liberal establishment, and so is the BBC. They actually done this investigation and this expose. How is this? How is this not public knowledge? How is it people are not talking about this? This is happening all over the country. And if you notice the framing of the article and you notice the framing from the MP, they're not attacking the principle of what's going on. They're attacking the process. None of these people should be in the country. Full stop. This is just my view. Your mileage may vary. But every single time one of these lefties turns around and say refugees welcome, remind them, where are they going to go? Where are they going to live? Who's paying for them? Why are we paying for them? You know what I mean? These are the questions, all right. They're being put in student accommodation. Students are getting booted out of student accommodation because they're going to get a better price from the government. And it's the same with the migrant hotels. And it's the same with private accommodation all over the country that people are forced into little shoe boxes that they pay over the odds for already. They get forced out. They can't afford to buy a house because there's no houses to buy, and then they can't even rent a place because they're being outbid by the Home Office. Our government is outbidding its own people for private accommodation. This is completely unacceptable. And then you've got a GP who's got stakes in the company, and he's saying, "Well, don't look at me, governor. Don't look at me." I will fucking look at you. Pardon my language. I will look at you. I look at every single person who's on the take regarding this. Do you reckon this Labour MP is a Labour voter? I certainly do. And let's not forget Serco, one of the biggest providers of asylum accommodation in the UK. Who's a major stakeholder in Serco? Oh, that's right, Larry Fink of BlackRock. I wonder what he was discussing with Keir Starmer when he was over last year. Connect the dots, that's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. Now, if you like this video, give me a like, give me a subscribe, do all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next video. You have a good day.